Welcome everybody to today's pick a card reading. Today's reading is a bit of a long range one. We're looking at you over the next 3 years, and we'll be calling upon Archangel energy to be both watching over you and also guiding a number of the key issues or areas of growth and opportunity that could be coming up for you over the next 3 years. So we'll start with that, and then we'll have a look at what your life looks like it will be in 3 years' time with the prevailing energies at the moment and the sorts of themes that come up from the archangels. One of the beauties, I think, about long-range readings like this is it does give you a sense and an understanding of what looks probable at the moment, and that's one of the key things that tarot and oracle cards can give to us. But it also gives you enough time and enough information to think about whether you want to take up the opportunities or whether you can risk mitigate or avoid certain challenges just by decisions that you make early in the piece or even as you go along. So the future that we look at here, if it's not the future that you want, it gives you some of the signposts and the support that you'll have spiritually to make decisions that may create a different future for you. So more than some of those immediate what's going on right now readings, this sort of reading is really designed to give you a long range helicopter view of your life so that you're in the driver's seat. You can actually make the decisions that really impact on whether this 3-year forecast is where you want to be. So to help you get that archangel guidance and the snapshot of the probable / possible future for you in 3 years' time, for each deck I have crystals as usual. So there's an amethyst crystal on pile 1, there's a lapis lazuli on pile 2, and there's a red jasper on pile 3. So if you know which one you feel most drawn to, the timestamps are in the description box below. If you're not sure, then you can pause the video and contemplate or meditate, whatever you do to tune in to the right deck. If you want to go to more than one deck because there's a number of things undecided in your life and you'd like to see if they're reflected across a couple of possible 3-year projections, by all means do that. But once you know which deck or decks you want to connect to, I'll see you in your reading. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. These are the 3 archangels that were under the crystal that you chose, and these are tarot cards that we'll get to in a few minutes to look at what this is representing in your life. There are some interesting key themes in this for the next 3 years for you. The first of the archangels, Archangel, is an archangel that looks over happy partnerships, romantic love, finding your life partner, potentially if you want to, having a family. She is very supportive and helps in terms of fertility and building families and growth on that sort of level. So if you are in a relationship and you're looking to start a family in the next 3 years, then this is an extremely good sign around being able to have that outcome that you want and it being easeful and supported spiritually. If you're not in a relationship, it suggests that you may find the one, or one that you could certainly have a long-term and settled down family type relationship with or without children, depending upon your preferences. And if you are with someone and you're not sure about whether this is a longer term scenario, at this point it's very well aspected to be that if you want it to be. So Archangel is all around emotional happiness and the one for this period in your life that is going to be important and supportive to you. So it's a very good sign, I think, around love, relationships and family. This one, which is Adnachiel, I think I may not be pronouncing the archangel's name correctly, forgive me if I'm not, is a spirit of independence, a spirit of wandering, a spirit of being true to yourself and true to your vision. So this could be finding the person here that allows you to be authentic and true to yourself. If you've struggled around doing that, pile 1, I think over the next 3 years there is something coming through with these 2 archangels helping for that. But it could also be looking at your career or something in terms of your political, social or philosophical beliefs. The archangel is represented in this deck like a First Nations person from Australia. So that sense of the breadth of the outback, of the sense of the independent, spiritually attuned, very attuned to nature, very attuned to cultural connections. There is a connection there with family and with ancestors as well. So there is definitely the sense that those two are working together, but equally I suspect, we'll see what the tarot says, this may also be around career or how you are expressing yourself in the world. The third archangel that's watching over you in this period of time is Cassiel. And she is an archangel that looks to healing and allowing you to be vulnerable. And it's an interesting connection, I think, here for many of my pile one. I feel that it's saying that in this period of time, if you don't already have a relationship that supports you and allows you to be true to yourself and heals old hurts around relationships, one is coming in this period of time. If you are in a relationship and there are issues that you need to deal with that, you will be able to deal with those. Whether you stay in the relationship or whether you claim your independence will be a matter for you. But she is watching over healing and the capacity to be vulnerable. And I think that's also picking this up. I think that for many of my pile one, there may be a cause or a philosophy that you take on in this period of time to show your independence of thought, to show who you are in some way, to express who you are. And you will allow yourself to be vulnerable to do it because you're very clear about what you believe and how you want to express it, and you have the support around you to be able to do it. So let's have a look at the cards that are coming up for each of these. So around Barakiel, so the one that seems to be about relationships, we have the Prince of Keys, which is like the Knight of Swords, the Eight of Wands, and an extra card that's in this deck called the Magnum Opus. So the Magnum Opus, going to that first, is the great work. It can be that all of this is connected. It may be that there is a creative project that's coming out here for some of my pile one that is connected to a collaboration with somebody or is somehow about relationships and happy and healthy relationships with healing and so forth. So some of you may be picking that up rather than a relationship, but I think for most of you there is a relationship. It's connected to the great work of your life, the great work of who you are, and also potentially something you're taking out into the world. There's a lot of energy around this. And it's interesting because the Eight of Wands is a freedom energy. So although this archangel is looking over the potential for a long-standing relationship and potentially, as I say, family, I think there's a real sense that within it there is a sense of freedom that comes from possibly having someone who is very like you, that is more aligned with you, so it doesn't feel like being in the relationship is constraining in any way. It feels quite the opposite. It feels as though it really turbocharges what you want to do. Certainly there's a certain level of unconventionality here, and that connects to here. My pile one are not average people. You are not people who just go along to get along. You're people who, in your relationships on all levels and in your life on all levels, you need to be able to speak your truth. And you may well do something that surprises people. In the next 3 years, particularly around relationship, you may go towards somebody that people wouldn't have expected you to be with, somebody who is different to your former patterns of relationship, but if so, much more authentic, I think, to who you are. It may be confounding your family on some level, and I mean your sort of extended family, about I wouldn't have seen this person with this person, but it's somehow connected to the freedom to be yourself and to start to live the life that you're meant to live. So there's some really big stuff coming for you around relationship in the next 3 years, but it feels very positive. There's nothing negative there. It's just that you're going to surprise some people, maybe even surprise yourself. So let's have a little bit of a look about the independent archangel here. Oops. Okay, so we're getting a bit of a mirroring here. This is interesting. This archangel looks after independence, as I said, and who you are, your authentic self. And this archangel looks after relationship. In this one, we have a sense of independence and individuality. In this one, we have a sense of being with someone, a longer-term happy relationship that is somehow negotiated and brought into being. So I think These two are very much connected. There is something about a relationship around you. It could be one that you're in at the moment that goes to another level, or it could be one that's coming in. It is probably a romantic relationship, particularly with the Ten of Cups there, but it doesn't have to be. It might be a collaboration or a partnership with someone on a work or an artistic level. But there is a realization that while you stand in your truth, you do not stand alone, and that there is joy in finding the people and the tribe around you that is right for you. So I feel that many of my Pile 1 in their life leading up to this have maybe felt a little bit left of centre, a little bit off the grid, a little bit different to the other people around them. But there is something coming in the next 3 years that connects you more with who you are, and therefore the right people to be around you. But there is something that you will negotiate around that. It may be that you change your work environment that you're in to be somewhere that's more emotionally fulfilling. It may be that you need to negotiate the terms about moving or traveling in some way, because there is a sense of that with that Archangel. Whatever it is, it's a mirroring effect where what you're wanting to do with relationships moves you into a more independent way of looking at relationships, and your general independence makes you realize that there is a capacity to be with someone and still have that. And that again is very positive. I feel like there's a very positive energy around relationship, which makes the energy around Cassiel interesting, because as I say, this is an Archangel that helps you be vulnerable and helps you heal. So let's see what energy is around her. All right, I'll move that up so that you can see them a little bit better. Okay, so I think this is bringing this all together in terms of themes. As I said up here, I had a sense that possibly some of you are going to surprise your family, and by that I mean your parents, your siblings, that part of your family. You are going to be more independent and clear about who you want and how you want a relationship. She is definitely saying there is something potentially from your past. It could be, it doesn't have to be family, but with the Six of Cups reversed, it feels like deep past. It doesn't feel like the last few weeks. It feels like something at least in the last couple of years and possibly longer behind, where you had a dream or an understanding about what you wanted to have in your emotional life and possibly also in your creative and work life. And you're letting go of that dream because you're understanding that your life's purpose is connected to a different type of relationship and a different way and mode of being. And I feel as though there's a communication that will come to you, and it's like maybe you'll connect to this person via social media or something like that. There's that sense around this card. There's the connection across locations. So I think for some of my Pile 1, it may be that you connect with someone who is living somewhere else, hence why I feel like there may be a negotiation about how you progress this relationship. But it's leaving behind. It's because you're doing the work to leave behind old patterns. Whatever it was that disappointed you, whether it was stuff in your family or whether it was a former relationship, during the next 3 years, you are going to be healing that energy. You are going to be letting it go. And you're going to be communicating with someone of like mind that allows you to find a different way of relating and a different way of being in the world. And I do think for many of you, you may work together, or you may create something together, or you may follow a similar cause. So if you're with someone like that already, then you're already on the path. And this is just about healing anything before. And there's a high degree of movement and freedom towards whatever this great work is that you can do together. And you're with the right person. If that feels like that person, then you're with someone who's the right person. And this is the Archangel energy saying to you, go forward with this. But I think for many of you, it's an energy that's coming in over the next few years. But it looks very, very positive. The only issue that could be around it is if you feel like you're with someone at the moment and it's not connecting like that, then to allow this energy in, you may need to process that and work out whether or not is there what you want left there and you can turn it into this sort of thing, or is it really that was being more conventional in the way you related and what you need is something that's more true to you? So I want to pull a card to see how, in what terms of symbols, signs or feelings the archangels will be communicating with you. And what I mean by that is during the next 3 years, things to watch out for, synchronicities, feelings, messages, etc., to let you know that you're on the right path, or there is a decision that you are looking at that time that relates to this. So I'll pull one for each archangel. So firstly, for the archangel that is looking at relationships for you. Okay, so she's going to be speaking to you like the phoenix rising from the ashes. That does suggest that for many of you there's been a difficult relationship, either within a romantic relationship or a difficult relationship around your families. And so when you see things like a phoenix as a symbol, or birds in particular, particularly very colourful birds that could remind you of that, or the sense of fire energy and clearing of energy in some way, these are all symbols that she will bring to you to make you know you're on the right path and that you're connecting to that energy to get that. Because if you think about it, the phoenix rising from the ashes is very much like the energy of the Eight of Wands, this uprush of freedom and of being authentic to yourself, even if it surprises people. So let's have a look at the independent one over here, who at the same time realizes that there is something to be gained by not being alone, but having the right connection under the right negotiation, the right circumstances. That archangel will connect with you, okay, through communication. So you may directly hear things, you may be clairaudient, you may have ideas that come into your head out of nowhere that surprise you, you may feel a prompting of an idea, a song, something that you read that really takes you somewhere else, that makes you think differently about something. It may even be, as I say, some of you, I think this connection is coming through social media electronically in some way. So that may be the thing. It may be saying you'll know this person because you'll feel that connection through electronic media to start first. And then let's see how Cassiel is going to be communicating with you to help you with whatever this healing is that you need to do, or that I think you're already in the progress of doing. Doorways. So that firstly is the synchronistic sense of moving from one state into another state, and it picks up also the energy of the other archangel there around wandering, moving, changing. I do think for many of you, you may change where you live, you may change literally the city that you're in or town that you're in. It's not just sort of moving next door. I feel like there is a big shift on a material level for you. Equally, if you see doorways, if you see very ornate doorways, if you see photos of doorways, if you think about doorways, if they come into your head, the concept of moving from one place to another, if you dream about them, these are all anchoring messages from Cassiel to you around what you're dealing with, what you're processing, and what you're letting go. And it's a wonderful metaphor or symbol for that, because it is about letting go of energies that weren't working for you emotionally so that you can come into something that's more authentic for yourself. So that's very positive. All of this is very positive at this point. So what I want to do is I want to have a look at if you follow the advice of the archangels and you do find this person, or you change or modify a relationship that you're in at the moment, and you find what your cause is, where are you likely to be, using a different deck, in 3 years' time? Just a snapshot of your life in 3 years' time. So I think it's saying that it's a little bit of a long-term thing to fully deal with the emotional stuff. I think that's why Cassiel is there, because we have the Three of Cups reversed, which suggests there's still, in 3 years' time, there's still some emotional work to let go of the past. I do think that for many of you, you will break up with someone in this period of time, or your family, as I say, is going to be surprised, or your friends are going to be surprised, because you're going to be doing something that's very different, or being with someone that's very different. But there is a real growth opportunity there, and it's both in terms of a relationship, which I think is what the first archangel was promising, but it's also around something that you do together. I feel like this is the beginning of the magnum opus. I feel like this is the beginning of the great work that the two of you could be doing together. So I think that's there, but I don't think you've fully resolved the issues from other people. And you know that it's the beginning of a much more transformative energy for you anyway. You're clearing out what isn't working for you over this period of time. The Tower, people get a bit worried about the Tower, but I think the Tower can be an incredibly positive energy. And particularly when you've got the Ace of Pentacles with it, it's clearing out the old. That's what you'll have been doing to bring in the new. So I don't think you will have achieved the thing. You may well have connected with the person, but as I say, you might still be dealing with issues from others around it. I think you'll be fine. You will deal with it, but you'll still be in this process of transformation that's going on over this period of time. And sometimes it's saying you might feel a bit exhausted by it. So again, I think that's why we've got Cassiel here. That's why we've got that healing and nurturing energy. And it's certainly important. Part of her guidance is to take time out when you need to take it out. And that may even be time out from the relationship, not because there's anything necessarily wrong in it, but sometimes we just need to be alone. So I think this is saying that you will sometimes feel so much change is occurring in this period of time. Like, how do I just keep going with this? And, you know, I thought that I'd kind of be where I need to be, but now I'm understanding there's a much bigger thing that I can do. And I'm like, a bit overwhelmed by that sometimes, but the energy is there for you if you go with it. So I want to use some oracles now, just to get a sense about, firstly, any other information about your fortune in 3 years' time, and then I'm going to look at cards for love, career, and just your general feelings and emotional state at this stage, particularly as it looks like you're still going through a lot of change. It's like this is the preparation, and then the really big thing comes there. So let's have a look at what the kind of fortune energy is around you 3 years from now, pile one. So fish energy is very positive. That suggests that money will be coming to you. And it's interesting, we've got the Ace of Pentacles. I don't think with that you're worried about your career or money. That's not the issue. That's not the transformation that's going on. This is much more about who you are authentically and your relationships. There will be at least one very strong friend around you. So even if everybody else is a bit in an uproar about how you've changed, you've got someone who will be very loyal. I don't feel that's necessarily the relationship. I think that's more of a friend. But the book here says, yes, there's more to learn. And it's interesting the book came up because we've got Magnum Opus as well having come up with this deck. So that sense of the story of your life, the narrative of your life, there are still things to learn. So the next 3 years, as I say, feels like a preparation, but it's a positive preparation. You'll be financially fine. You'll have the friends that matter to you, and you probably will have moved away those who don't want to see who you truly are. And you'll have that sense of anticipation for new information coming through for you. So let's look at, to close off, just some ideas about love and career and your general feelings 3 years from now. So firstly, love. Okay, that's very positive energy. It fits. I do feel like you're going to be in a significant relationship, and I do think you're going to have a partner to move forward with to do this, even if, as I say, it's kind of uprooting other things in your life in one form or another. This is a sense of clearing out energy, so working with Cassiel, the beautiful sort of sense of light and love and positive energy coming to you. And here we have the garden, a sense of growth. So there is a sense of the two of you being together and growing something beautiful and new. So love looks fine. I think particularly if you have been suffering around love before, you're heading into a much more positive period of time with this. So let's have a look at career. So these could be picking up areas that you work in. They could also be skills or approaches that you're bringing to things. It is interesting that we have rescuer. So it could literally be for some of my pile one that you work in some sort of rescuing service, firefighting, the SES, that kind of thing. But I think for most it's more that maybe that's been a role that you've had, and maybe that's part of what you still need to clear. When you put those two things together, I think that that could suggest that you've rescued others before. You've always been there for them. And possibly if you start to move on a journey about your own growth and your own needs and a relationship that's more about connecting with you rather than everybody else, that might be part of the issue that you're dealing with around other people. It could also indicate that someone will come along and help around something. So if in some of these changes you're worried about finding a job, for instance, if you've had to move home, maybe somebody will be a benefactor or help you with that in some way. The crafter suggests a very creative side of things. Again, you could be working in arts and crafts in some way. You could be creating something. I do think that there is something around creativity for you in collaboration with this person. So I think you'll be looking at that. But it could also be crafting your career and crafting what you want to do, because I feel like there are resources for you to do what you need to do. So last but not least, 3 years from now, just want to pull from another deck and see some of the emotions that you're dealing with, because it does look a bit complex still for you, but it still looks like it's moving in a very positive direction. So let's see what the emotions around you are. This one definitely wanted to come out. Okay, so I think this is picking up some of these other people and changes around you. I don't get the sense when we see lost and I will find my own way that you are moving out of the relationship, because the relationship looks too positive. But I do think that you are going to be changing some of your friendships and even maybe disentangling from old relationships and even family sort of expectations over this period of time. So sometimes with that tower energy, you may feel a bit lost. But Spirit is saying, stay in this situation of curious. You know, follow your intuition. Your intuition is going to be on point. You're very connected to what you're meant to be doing now in this next 3 years. And don't allow yourself to be controlled by others. So you're not going to allow yourself to be manipulated. So I do think your major challenge over the next 3 years will be the expectations of others on you. But I think that you will find someone who is the right person for you, the right connection, or if you are with someone now, that's going to be built even further and committed even further, and you'll be able to move forward and change. But there's a very strong feeling here that the next 3 years is about you disentangling from other people's control, other people's expectations, so that you can bring in who you are. And that Archangel energy is there to give you the sense of love that you want and need, to give you the sense of independence within that it's a healthy, balanced relationship, and to bring the right friends in, and then to clear any of the energy that's still there from people who possibly have a vested interest in you not changing. So pile 1, I hope that that resonates for you, and I hope it gives you a real sense of positivity for the future, because I think the next 3 years are important, but I think they're also incredibly positive for you, even with what it looks like at the moment. But if anything in that is something you think that's not what I want, or that's not the balance that I want, you now have some more information to work out how to make other decisions to end up in a different scenario. And you could potentially make some of the decisions quicker. The Prince of Keys is like the Knight of Swords. It's a very quick energy. So you may feel, you know what, if I'm going to 3 years from now be still dealing with some of this, I'm going to hit it even more head on now. That will be up to you. It'll be where you are emotionally, where you are in your life, whether you've met the person. But that's the power of this sort of reading. So I hope that helped you, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments on this, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. These 3 archangels were the cards under the crystal that you chose, and we will use some tarot to have a look at a little bit more deeply what each of them are bringing to you in the next 3 years. But firstly, I want to talk about the nature of these archangels and the sorts of issues that this could be bringing up in your life. And the first thing that I would say is I think the people who've come to this reading are people who are either extremely spiritually connected and involved in spiritual matters on some level, spiritual studies, spiritual practice, spiritual professions, or very much philosophical, very much about justice and balance. And there is something in this energy for you over the next 3 years, whether it is at the most personal level or whether it is at the more universal world level, community level, that is about cleansing and healing things that are not right, things that are not just, things that are not in balance. So why I'm saying that, firstly, you have fuel. Fuel is an archangel of cleansing. It is to help you release energies that are not working for you. It is, the archangel watches over the environment and the beauty of the environment and the health of the environment. If you have had or have any health issues during this period of time, this is a very benefic energy to help you cleanse your body. It may be that for some of my Pile 2, you do actually engage in some sort of health regime, cleansing, detoxing during this period of time, either regularly as a regime or as a way to really unlock the potential around you and move through maybe emotional or other issues that have had a physical effect on you. So fuel will definitely help with that. She also is associated to some degree with the Fool card in the tarot, so that's about new beginnings, and so it's about clearing out and decluttering and getting yourself in balance for things that are new and for new adventures. And that may well be the case for you because you're getting a lot of information downloaded to you from Raziel. Raziel is one of the highest archangels connected with the Kabbalah and will bring information and clairvoyance and any of the sort of clair talents, potentially clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. It's information that's coming to you. That's why I think that many of you are highly spiritual. If you haven't really seen that in yourself, I think pay attention to what is coming into your mind. Raziel often communicates with sigils and glyphs and that sort of thing. So if you find yourself drawn to potential logos or what looks like angelic writing and those sort of things, there's a connection there for you because there's information being downloaded to you during this period of time. And I think it's why it's important for you physically to be in alignment, to take that in, because it's an inrush of energy. And it's got something to do with justice and balance. The twin iron are extraordinarily high level archangels. So if they come to you, this says it's a very, very important period of time for you in whatever way this is manifesting, as I say, whether it's the most personal through to the most spiritual or political. There is something around justice and balance here. It may well be that some of my pile 2 have been through a period of injustice. If you are looking at going through some sort of court proceedings over this period of time, this is a very positive sign that you will be protected and that justice will be brought to your cause. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be that some of you work in the legal environment and you're going to take on a cause that is very important either to you personally or to other people and to the balance of the world. There's a sense of political activism, environmental activism around this connection as well too, but it's very, very spiritually connected and it's a very, very powerful time. These are very powerful archangels, and in particular these sit above Metatron. They are about the ultimate justice in the world. And it could be about a change in your philosophy, because the way that they're being represented in this card is like philosophers from sort of the Socratic sort of time period. So that sense of getting balance on an intellectual and philosophical level, as well as whatever you're feeling and whatever you're downloading. So I think that the people who've come to this reading are fairly extraordinary individuals. And in one form or another, there is a major shift that has to do with better balance, cleansing of energy. But it may be that for some it's very much in your personal life, and for others it may be more in your career. So let's have a look at what tarot energy is around each. So around fuel, which is this cleansing, clearing, new beginning. Okay. This suggests, firstly, because we have the 7 of Pentacles first, I think for some of you there is definitely a physical clearing. I think that you will be thinking about how to balance your own internal energy for whatever cause you're taking on, because I do think you're taking on a cause at this period of time. And it looks like you've almost been in isolation. You're coming out of isolation, having decided what battles you're prepared to take on and what you needed to cleanse and declutter from your life. Now, for some people, this is a timeless reading, but I'm doing the recording in July in 2021. So for some people, if you're looking at this around that time, sort of August, September, whenever I upload it, that sort of period of time. You could literally be, over the 3 years, this could be showing coming out of the sort of isolation and lockdown that we've had to deal with the pandemic. But if that's the case, you haven't been idle. You've done something around your physical balance, and you've done something around deciding what you believe in on a philosophical level. And there is a sense of a battle, but you're coming out of the battle. And I feel as though you are coming out of the gate ready to have the fight around whatever it is. So whether it is in a personal situation around legal matters, for instance, or around your career, or whether it's this whole experience of having to go within and then realizing you need to come out and speak your truth, has made you prepared for a battle. You don't think there's something in the next 3 years that you need to address, and you know you need to address it, and you're prepared to come out strong, but you're getting yourself ready over this period of time. So let's have a look at what's being downloaded to you from Raziel. Okay, so firstly, there could be a new job, a new source of income, something like that coming in for you over this next 3 years with the Ace of Talismans there. That's like the Ace of Pentacles. There's a blessing around money and around career and around things that are material in the world. For some of you, I'm getting, this is very personal, and you are getting healthy for a child, and the child is going to be really dialed in spiritually as well, if that's the case. That's fairly specific. It's not going to be everybody, but for some that may be the case. But for others, this new career opportunity or this new inrush of resources is going to make you again ready for a battle. There is a battle you're going to have, and I think it's a battle you want to have. I don't have a sense that you feel bad about doing it. I think that you've literally had this download of understanding about the world, and you have a cause, and you will take this very electric energy coming to you to be an iconoclast, to be someone who breaks down conventions and breaks down beliefs that people have. And it's not necessarily easy. Like, I feel like this energy coming to you, because the Six of Keys, which is the Six of Swords, it's reversed. You won't have peace of mind really until you address this, until you take that battle on. And in fact, you believe on some level, as I say, whether this is very personal or whether it's very transpersonal, that there shouldn't be peace of mind till it's sorted out. There is a newer way of doing things, a new life, a new approach that's coming in, and you know that that's important. So let's see what the Twin Iron have for you. Okay, this is very interesting. It's interesting because they are twins, so they work together. And the first message that I'm getting very strongly from this is you can't do this alone. They want you to know you can't do this alone. So you've done what you need to do, and you have a very clear idea about what it is, as I say, whether it's in career or relationships, but you can't do it alone. With the Nine of Pentacles reversed, you need to find support. It could be collaborators, it could be people who have the same cause, it could literally be, for some of you, if this is about a personal issue that has a legal ramification, you need professional support, because there's a lot of nervous anxiety coming from this. It's not an easy process. I'm sorry to say, it's not an easy next 3 years for you. It doesn't mean, you seem to be fine with it, really. But I think that these archangels are saying, don't feel you have to shoulder it all alone. It looks like you find it a bit hard to bring other people into your cause or other people into your issue. I think you're very private, like very private, particularly around things that are emotional or personal. But this is saying that you are going to need to do that, and you are going to need to make the decisions about who to trust and who to bring in. The good thing is these archangels watching over you, and then Raziel sending you information, should make your decisions wise about what you do there. But I think the big thing is being prepared to do that, being prepared to get the help, support that you need, rather than thinking you have to shoulder this whole thing yourself. So with whatever it is, And I feel like most of you will have a sense of what it is. You'll know whether this is a battle that is personal, that's already starting to happen in your life, or whether it's that you really do have a sense of a cause, and you have had a sense for a long time that you were getting information coming to you and you had a role that was bigger than possibly what you're doing in the moment, like a suspicions of destiny sort of sense. That you're not wrong if you're feeling that, because this is very powerful energy coming to you in the next 3 years. So I want to look at what ways these archangels might communicate with you, what sort of signs, symbols, synchronicities, feelings, methodologies they may use. Now, we already know with Raziel that he can connect through sigils and symbols and so forth. So that's definitely there, but I'm going to pull a card for each of them. So firstly, for fuel, for this new beginning, this coming out of the gates that you seem to be doing, having prepared yourself, how will she communicate with you to make sure that you keep your energy clean and clear for whatever this issue is? Okay, third eye. So you're going to get this psychically. I think this suggests, I mean, all of this suggests that you're psychic, to be honest. I think that you're very telepathic. The third eye is very much a communication source, and it may be how you also decide who you can trust. So the third eye, what you feel telepathically, I think you'll start to notice things. They may not even be related to it. It's meant to be a sign to tell you you're on the right track. So you may start to have a thing where you know who's going to ring just before they telephone you. You might literally dream something and then it turns up in a TV show the next day, and it's not necessarily the topic or the person involved in those. It's to let you know, yes, your third eye is opening, you are connecting to the collective, which is important, because remember down here you can't be on your own, so a connection to the collective is important. So that is a symbol to you that you are doing what you need to do. And for some people, very literally, some sort of detox or cleanse to decalcify your pineal gland, to clear your system, is actually going to help open the third eye. So how is Raziel going to communicate with you over the next 3 years, apart from, as I say, with signs and sigils? So we've got mirror. So I think that's a couple of things. Firstly, I think that it will be, you will see situations that mirror things that you've seen before. It will be signposts that, yes, you're on the right track. Synchronicities, deja vu, that sort of thing will tell you. It's mirroring, and there will be almost like a mirroring of what you're trying to achieve. So if you, for argument's sake, were trying to achieve an environmental cause, you will start to see people mirroring the issues that you're raising, mirroring the behaviours that you're looking at. The second thing that will tell you that Raziel is connecting with you is literally seeing mirrors. If you start to see them around you, if you start to see different types of mirrors, think about what you're thinking about at that time. What are you connecting to? Because it's likely that that energy is coming to you. So, last but not least, what mode of spiritual communication will the twin iron use to communicate with you? Okay, we've got the three monkeys. So that's obviously, it's the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So I think that what that is saying, and it's interesting that it comes here, it's when you are really looking at what is the core issue, what is the balance around this. That's when the twin iron will be communicating with you. What is fair? What is balanced? It is about dispelling evil in very real terms, and it is knowing and having the wisdom about when to speak, when to listen, and when to watch, and what to not take in, what not to interact with, what is not right for you. You may literally also see the three monkey symbols. You may see monkeys. You may see zoos, things like that as well that can connect you to this. So let's have a look, since you're going through a major thing here, and there's a major download over this next 3 years for you, where you are with these current energies at the moment, and the most probable sort of space that you'll be in 3 years' time. So I'm using a different tarot deck for this. So you're a fair way along, whatever this issue is, pile 2. You have released yourself from a lot. With the devil reversed, you've released yourself from the bondage of what might have been unfair or what might not have been cleansed and pure in you, or even if you are literally dealing with the power structures of the world, you've released a lot of energy around that, and you're moving very fast, and you've got a lot of confidence around what you're doing. So I think you've had some wins, but Spirit is saying that there is still someone around you at this period of time who would seek to pull you in, to stop your reins. For some of you, this literally is about a breakup of a relationship, legal issues to do with it. And if that's the case, there is still some energy around that. I'm getting very specifically for some, if it is something like a divorce that you go through and you're dealing with the legal issues, there may still be some matters around children potentially. So that's very specific for anybody who that resonates for. And what is happening there is not honest. So you still have the twin iron around you, so you have justice on your side, but it looks as though there's still some things that are not necessarily working out the way that they were agreed. So, and in whatever that is, if you are in a cause, there is somebody in your cause at that point in time who is not what they appear to be. So watch out for that and be careful. This card is about confidence, but if you think about confidence in the different ways that what that word can mean, be careful who you give your confidence to and have confidence in. So it's saying there's someone, and so really connecting in to all those messages is going to be important 3 years from now. So let's have a look at some fortune energy for 3 years from now, and then I'm going to look at love, career, and the feelings that you have to round off the reading. So the fortune energy around you on a balance of probabilities for this sort of Archangel support over the next 3 years is ultimately very good. You've got Clover there. So for apart from anything else, that is good luck. That is good fortune. And I think it is because you are doing what you have to do to be on the right side of history, really, in this, in whatever you're doing. There's also the possibility of a new love around you. So if there's been breaking up from one, then that energy is finally dissipating. But there is a crossroads also around this. So for some of you, you may be looking at whether a relationship you're in is right, and that could be connecting that as well too. So it could go either way. I do think by and large it's a positive relationship because it's next to the Clover, and the Clover is a very powerful card. It gives luck around anything. But with the crossroads, there is a choice that you need to make around relationship in 3 years' time. It doesn't have to be a loved one, but more often than not, the heart is a loved one. So let's have a look, given that, at a couple of cards for your love life, your relationship life 3 years from now. Okay, so I think this is picking up that for many of my pile two, part of this, whether it's the main cause of what you're doing or whether it's just collateral that comes with doing that, you are likely to disconnect from someone and connect with someone new in this time period. And it looks as though that gives you the emotional freedom to be true to who you are and to get the right balance in what you do. And it's all about balance, because with the twin iron, that is about balance. So you're moving into the right sort of position. If this is about moving away from a relationship that has been not working for you and is legally complicated, over and over we're getting very good signs that this is the right direction and that you're protected. But there's still a little bit to do, but you're feeling the emotional freedom and you're feeling like you can bring yourself emotionally more into balance. So let's have a look at... I do think for some of you it's not about relationship, mind you. I think for some of you, you have a very big cause that you're dealing with, but it's just around relationships. You're also maybe reflecting that through the mirror into your relationships as well. So let's have some cards, a couple of cards around career for you in that period of time. Okay. So firstly, again, good news along with the Clover, growth. So whatever you're doing around your career is growing, it's thriving, your finances are looking good. Even if there has been financial expenditure to deal with some of this, it looks as though more's coming in than is going out. So that's a very positive sign. some things are connected to the past. So this is saying that some things from your past, this is around your career, are coming back. It could be an old job. It could be some unfinished business. It might have been that you've been taken on a particular journey over 3 years around something in your career that is bigger than you. But then once you start to achieve it, you can go back and have a look at what it was about you and what you wanted to do. It could also be saying that there's something in the skills that you've used in the past, or even what you've gone through in the last 3 years, that are going to take you to the next level and to the growth in your career. So some of you may, in fact, go through a situation where you pursue a cause, and that, in doing that, gives you so many skills that you become someone who does that professionally. So last but not least, I want to pull some cards to see what you're feeling emotionally 3 years from now. Okay, so by and large, you're feeling good. You're feeling happy. You're feeling like you've done the right thing. You feel like you're light, and your understanding and your information is contagious, and you're bringing people with you. There is a sense of deja vu. There is something coming back in around about 3 years from now that is deja vu, is a mirror to even what you've gone through in the last 3 years. But if anybody, and there, as I say, there's somebody who's trying to still have some influence on you, makes you feel inadequate in any way, you just need to remember you're worthy and you're enough. What you've gone through in the last 3 years has proved that. But there's something in this, whatever it is, as I say, whether it's on the very personal level or on a very political or social level, there's some new pattern coming in that is similar to the past, or there is someone from the past who is still trying to pull your strings. But remember that you have gone and moved so far, and you've had so much support spiritually around this, and you're so connected, so that can't draw you into that type of energy. Someone's going to be trying to do that. And it may not be someone you even know now. It might be someone in the future, or you may very well know already who that is because they're already trying it. So just don't play their games, basically. So pile 2, you've got a very big next 3 years in one way or another. But I do think you will be in a stronger position and be very clear that you've taken the right path within 3 years. So I think that's very positive. But do pay attention to the signs. There's a lot of information downloading to you, and you're very spiritual, you're very psychic. Even if what you do with this is much more material, much more political, much more personal, there is something very interconnected here because of the archangels that came up for you. So I wish you well. I think it's a big and interesting time for you over the next 3 years. And as I said at the beginning, if there's things in here you're not happy with, it gives you some opportunities to think about how to course correct, bring things forward, delay certain things and so forth to have the outcome that you want. But it does look overall a pretty happy place to be in 3 years' time. So I hope that you enjoyed the reading. And if so, please like the video and subscribe. And let me know in the comments if this triggers anything for you and you know what this issue is. It'd be very interesting to know. Other than that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3. These 3 cards here are the archangels that are bringing you messages and watching over you in the next 3 years for the purposes of this reading. And they give a sense about some of the key themes that you will be looking at over the next 3 years to bring you to whoever you're going to be 3 years from now. This group, I think, are the highly creative group. The first archangel here, Raduriel, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is the creative muse, an extraordinarily powerful archangel, higher than Metatron, a recorder and a muse for creatives everywhere. So if you are a creative and you are suffering a creative block on some level, or you're struggling to take your creativity to the next level, whatever that means for you, or even there are many other issues occurring in your life that are getting in the way of your inspiration, over the next 3 years, you're going to find that you have a high degree of inspiration, a high degree of support from this archangel to bring into being creative projects. Now, creativity is very broad. It doesn't have to be that you're a writer or a singer or a painter, though many of you may well be. It could be creativity in your work. It could be creativity strategically. many things, but there is a very strong sense here of the beauty of words. The character that this particular deck has chosen to represent this archangel is Oscar Wilde. So we get a sense there of wit and of inspiration and of brilliance and a touch of genius, but also someone who has a connection to the deeper realms of creativity and the social observance. So some of you may well be very much observing and recording and creating things to show your understanding of the world. And one of the reasons I think that is that you also have Mirabiel, and that is a archangel that mirrors both what's within you and within others. So it is showing the truth. It is about getting to the depths. It's a very lunar presence, so you may be very connected to the cycles of the moon and very impacted by the cycles of the moon. But this is about the wisdom of going to the depths. And so I feel like many of you will create something over this period of time that is incredibly emotionally and psychologically resonant, and which really truly reflects what you see either of your life or of the society around you in some way. And then Zadkiel connects you to angelic information and balance. It is a figure, an archangel of transmutation, of change. So it's an alchemical feeling about this. So whatever you create, if it reflects truth, and I think it will, it transmutes truth at the same time, whether that's on a very personal level, that what you create is a prophecy of what is coming in your life and who you are becoming, or whether it is prophetic on another level, the transmutation and the change with society that possibly an Oscar Wilde character might have seen and been able to reflect. I think that some of my creative people here, you literally do start to create the new world. You create, whether that's at your personal level or more generally, you are prophetic. You are a bit of a seer. That's picking up some of this energy as well too. So whatever form it takes, you are meant to bring something new in. You are meant to be inspired at a very high order over the next 3 years to bring in the new in whatever form you create. And it is meant to really reflect the truth and to change and bring evolution. So as I say, if you're thinking, well, like I don't write and I don't paint, say you're in an organisation, you say I'm there day to day, you may well be someone who helps change within the organisation, that helps chronicle, record and take people through change. So it doesn't have to be pure creativity in the way we think of it, but I do think many of the people who come here, you are very creative and there is a real opportunity to do something with that. So let's have a look at the tarot cards for each of these. So first of all, around this creative energy. Okay, so there we're seeing the inrush of inspiration. It's interesting. It does look like many of you, if you are creative or if you're in some field where you want to bring something new or strategic in, you've been struggling a bit up to this time, struggling to get the recognition, struggling to finish something, struggling to get that last piece of the jigsaw. But you have a tenacity, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Archangel is with you. You don't let go of things easily. You will free yourself by seeing something through. The worst thing for people in this group, I think, would be if you felt that you had given up at the last minute. You do have that sense that you've got a guiding star of moving forward and being optimistic. You know that you're creatively very good. You know that. But it does look as though there's been some limitations on you, possibly just people not understanding what you were doing to date, or it might be dealing with the industry gatekeepers, something like that, that has made you feel a bit stuck. But something is coming through, a new rush of confidence, a new vision, a new understanding, and you go, now I'm really happy that I stuck with this. Now I know why it is that I didn't let go. So, for instance, if you are a writer and you've written a book and you've been sending it out to agents and you haven't had the response you need, it's like over the next 3 years, something's coming in that will make you either slightly amend the book or even just an energy where the time is right for people to see it and to recognize it. Like, I do think many of you are a bit ahead of your time. So that might be, it's almost like you have to wait for the industry to catch up, but that is going to be rewarded over this period of time, and you're going to be moving into a space where you're feeling much more confident. Now, the only warning ever when you see the Prince of Candles, which is the Knight of Wands, is sometimes the Knight of Wands gets so enthusiastic it sort of acts before it thinks. I don't think that's likely here because you do have a kind of mental constraint around yourself, but there's something in the next 3 years that's going to make you feel like you could really throw off those shackles and just move forward. So the only thing here is not to rush the final product. Spirit is saying here, and I think the Archangel is saying, let the full inspiration come through. Don't feel like you have to do this on some time frame. Just let that energy come through and don't rush the last bit of it. So let's see what Mirabelle is about. Okay, so I think that many of my pile 3, you are in possibly a conventional job, even if you're a creator or a large organisation and you're creating within that. There is definitely a sense that part of what you're mirroring and seeing is around the power structures that you are experiencing or that are possibly in the world with the Emperor. And I do think that you're seeing something that is not the way it should be with the King of Talismans reversed, but there is a sense of freedom as well. Literally for some of you, you will know and you will have the sense that your creativity is moving somewhere when you feel confident to leave something that's more conventional. So it's leaving a conventional approach to your creativity, or it's leaving a job. There is a sense of freedom and impermanence around work, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because you're seeing within that workplace or within your career some of the things that are not going to survive what you're trying to create. Though that is, I think, connecting and saying don't jump too quickly. Make sure that you are ready to do that, particularly financially, because it looks as though you may be doing a job that is not fulfilling you creatively but is fulfilling you monetarily, and you want to move. You have a very strong sense of wanting to move and be your own boss, potentially creating your own business. And I think that there's a good prospect around that, but it's being really honest about when you're ready. And that's where reflecting into those inner depths. Don't jump before you're ready. Everything is being put in play. So if part of this creativity is to have your own business in some way, then allow all the pieces on the chessboard to come into play before you move to be free. It's like it's important to have the resources. What often happens with creative people is if they put themselves in a situation to be free but they're worried about money, that blocks the creativity, because suddenly what you're worried about is how do I pay the rent or the mortgage or whatever. So get your ducks in a row, I think, is what that's saying, and be honest with yourself. Reflect on that. Then with Zadkiel, which is how you transmute during this time, so I think this is saying, for all that you may have found that sort of, as I say, industry gatekeepers, your bosses, whatever it might be, haven't got it to date, they're going to start to get it. There's going to be part of what will help you make this change and move into who you are really and use this creative inspiration is someone is going to recognize that and is going to help you resource-wise. And that's probably what this is connecting to. Don't move until you find that sponsor, that benefactor, that agent, whatever it might be. Maybe even a collaborator, someone who gives you seed money if it's for a business. That will come. That's part of what will help you transmute, because you don't have all the resources yourself. That's why it's important to do that. It's important to know there's at least one person you need to collaborate with or you need the support of to be able to take this forward. And there's a little bit here about owning that and taking that perspective, having like releasing yourself from how you think it must be for you to feel free and for you to feel creative, and be a little bit different in your perspective. Take a different perspective to that, and a pragmatic one. So I do get a sense here that the archangels are saying to you, you're highly creative, you're highly inspirational, and there's a lot that's coming to you because of that in the next 3 years. But you do have to be practical. You do have to be pragmatic. It might be frustrating at times because you'll feel ready to fly before you've got the wings fully grown. But they are in the process of doing it, and you will get help, but you just need to wait for those signs. So speaking of signs, what I want to do is I want to pull out a card from a particular deck that looks at symbols, signs, and synchronicities and energies that tell you psychically. They give you a psychic or a otherworldly sense that you're on the right track. So what I'm asking Spirit for here specifically is what you could keep an eye out for to see that you're on the right track in each of these. So firstly, around the inspiration itself. So we've got the Phoenix. So that's the Phoenix rising from the ashes. I do think that there is something that you have been working on that hasn't worked to date, but with some transmutation is going to work. So that's why the Phoenix is such an important, it's an alchemical symbol. You will have that sense of reviving something and making it into something so much more splendid, so much more wonderful once you get this inspiration. It's something that hasn't worked to date in however this resonates for you. You may see birds, you may see symbols with the Phoenix, you may read about alchemy and see people talking about the Phoenix. Those sorts of things may also tell you that this is connected to it. It may even be, given that we've got transmutation there, which is also an alchemical sort of sense, that there's something about the evolution of a personal life, a soul, a society, that is part of what this inspiration is. And it also really interests me, actually, that the Phoenix turned up there when we have Oscar Wilde as the character that is used to represent this Archangel, because he went through so much. He was brilliant, he was lauded, and then he went through so much. He went through his own dark night of the soul. So I think it is signaling that when you feel that you're releasing from that dark night of the soul, that's where some of this inspiration is coming through, and that you can revive a long-cherished dream. So let's have a look at what signs Mirabelle is going to be sending to you. Hearts. Okay, so there's a few things around that. It could be that part of this creative energy is about dealing with broken hearts, something that hasn't worked before, or even a relationship that hasn't worked before, and tuning into that energy authentically may be part of it. This card also has many hearts behind the girl in the picture, which shows that there's much love and much creative and growth energy around you anyway. You may literally also see hearts as symbols in jewelry, in fabrics, in logos. All of those sort of things are pointing you towards something to notice, something to see, because that's what that Archangel is wanting you to do. And then in terms of the transmutation, the Archangel watching over change in your life will communicate with you. Okay, baby. So, on a very literal level, for some of you, the creativity may literally be about having a child. And if that's the case, and I only think that'll be for some, and I'll go to this in a more broad symbolic level, but if that's the case, then if you've had difficulty before, something is coming through. But if that's the case, then I think some of these symbols are about making sure that you are physically feeling really strong for it, or your partner is feeling very strong for it, and that there is the material support for it as well, that it is possible to do that, to start a family, and to feel that sense of commitment to it, and to be reconciled to some of the lack of freedom that comes when you're a parent. So that could be a very literal thing that you have to sort of work out, and so it could be creativity on that level. For others, it is just that sense of something new, something is to be nurtured, something, and so it may be that you see babies around, you may read about babies, all of those sorts of issues are more kind of like signs for you. Children, babies, fertility, those sort of issues are pointing you to the direction of understanding what needs to be changed. And I think on a very literal level for creatives, it's like, your baby is going to rise. Your love of what you were doing is going to rise. And when you have that sense that it's your baby, it's your creative baby, and you're starting to work with it again, that's some of this energy, and that's what brings this support in for you. So 3 years from now, what does your life look like? So I'm going to use a different tarot pack just to get a bit of a sense about some of the prevailing energies if you've gone through this incredibly creative process, and hopefully found the people to support it and start to give you the freedom to bring this into being. What does your life look like in 3 years? Okay. Many of you through this will be your own boss. So that's picking up this energy here and the freedom. When you are ready, when you have the resources, when you have the support, you will be moving into being your own boss in one form or another. For others, you will have moved from one organisation to another, but in a way that is you're rising in the organisation. The Queen of Swords may well be picking up the energy of somebody supporting you. If so, this is someone who brings a critical but supportive eye to what you do and is very fair. So it may be that there's someone with you, someone who's supporting you who is like the editor or agent of what you do, or maybe a colleague or a collaborator in a business. I feel as though they're very different to you though. You're sort of fire and water in a way, the creative spirit made manifest. They're more like air and earth. So they're picking up the earth there and air there. So they're the kind of business people. And look, sometimes with creative people, that's what you need. You need to find someone who's more about a business to really bring something into being and let it be born into the world than, you know, if you are just the creative person. It's often the perfect complementary energy, and there's something new. So I feel in 3 years' time, you've brought into fruition this revived vision, and that's raised your profile in some way so that you're more independent, and you've got a new creation coming through. But you have a connection with others this time. It's like during this period of time, you're going to find the person who gets you and understands what you're trying to do. In 3 years' time, you've made that connection. So the next great inspiration already has wings, so to speak. So let's have a look at some fortune energy around you in 3 years' time. Okay, so by and large, very positive with the stars there. That sort of says wishes coming true with heart, heart connection of some sort, whether it's literally a romance or whether it's a collaboration creatively will depend. So there's definitely that sort of thing. But there are some clouds. So it's saying there are still issues to deal with, and that's true of life. So there are some worries, there are some things still to be ironed out. And some of that might be the interaction with the person that you're supporting with and finding the ways to do things differently and so forth. The good thing is that the stars are connecting to the lighter side of the clouds here. So there's a sense that optimism and that inspiration helps to alleviate any concerns that you might have. And there's definitely a good relationship around you. So speaking of relationships, let's pull a couple of cards for what your love life, what your romantic and sort of significant other type energy is 3 years from now. Okay, so maybe over the next 3 years in some of this, there is some conflict or some sort of issues around what you want in a relationship. And it may be that you're so focused on your creativity that you haven't given it a lot of space, or it could be that this partnership is both romantic and business-wise and you're different. So that may be part of it. You may still be trying to work through what might be a fantastic business collaboration, but is also an emotional one. Or it might be that things are quite separate to this, that you've been so focused on what you've been doing creatively that whoever's in your life is not feeling as connected. So you may need to think about that. This is all about the sacred woman, the divine feminine. It's all around nurturing and caring. It is very creative. So that creative energy, but maybe directed towards someone else. So I do feel that with the exception of people who've come here where the creativity might literally be to have a family, in which case maybe this is just sorting out the roles in parenting, quite literally. I think for others, this is saying you will have been so focused on this creative thing and bringing it into the world that maybe you have lost a little bit of sight of relationship. And that's the one thing. And it's easy enough to resolve by going back to your heart and to what you can share. So let's have a look also at career. particularly since I have a sense that many of you may be running your own business or self-made people at that point. Okay, so firstly, we've got counsellor. Some of you, whatever you're doing creatively, may be very much in that space of what other people, heart, emotional issues, and it may be that there's something about a counselling or therapeutic approach that you're taking to things and to your creativity and to your job, or you may be doing something creative separate and then also being a counsellor, and that's picking up some of this other energy that's around you. Certainly it suggests that any careers around that would be good for you. If you were to bring an aspect of that into your creativity, that will be very well aspected as well. But it is also saying that sometimes the counsellor needs to counsel themselves. So understanding where there are conflicts around you will help. And some of that has to do with control. So it might be that with the Queen of Swords, there's a bit of a battle of wills going on, either in a romantic relationship or a career relationship. Or it could be still that even if you are running your own show, you're still feeling that others are making the decisions about your work in some way. So you are working through issues of control at that time. So to finish off, let's have a look at the emotions that dominant emotions 3 years from now with this, because it looks to me like you've achieved a lot in 3 years' time, but there's more that you want to do, and you still feel a little bit constrained by the looks of things, by something, either personal or professional. Okay, so that pretty much sums up exactly what we've been talking about, pile 3. You will have built your confidence incredibly. If you have had doubts about what you can do creatively or bring to the world, you will not have those doubts going forward. If anything, you've got to watch that you don't get too confident because there are other parties involved in all of this. But you are unshakable. You are on a trajectory. You have been the phoenix rising from the ashes. But emotionally, there's still some vulnerability around you, and that's true of all of us. Emotionally, regardless of whatever we do in the world, we also have emotional vulnerabilities. So there's something about healthy boundaries. There's something here. It might be in a personal relationship, it may be in a professional relationship, but it is important to have those. And you've still got more that you want to do. You really opened up that desire and that yearning to do more and more with what your vision is and what you can do. It's like you've gone up a few steps and you think, oh wow, there's a whole other mountain after that I didn't know about, and that's where I want to be next, and that's what you're really going to be focusing on. But heart's desires are also about emotional issues. So just making sure that you don't go barreling up that mountain without thinking about the people that are close to you and the people that you want with you. That's probably the only thing really overall that Spirit wants to say, I think, about this, because the archangels watching over you are taking you through a major transition to be more true to your creative purpose. And they're really sending you a lot of inspiration, but there still are some decisions that you'll need to make about being here in the material world and the people that you relate with. So pile 3, I hope that resonates for you, and I hope it gives you some good advice for the next 3 years, and also some areas where if you don't want to be, in 3 years what this looked like, what you could do between now and then to avoid some of the challenges and to maximise some of the blessings here. And I hope you enjoyed the reading, and if so, please like the video and subscribe. And if this does really resonate with you and you've got some comments about it, I'd love to read about them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.